Okay, thank you everyone for joining. Hopefully you can see my screen. This is the first meeting for the month of March for our twice a month meeting. And as you can see, we have a Twitter handle, and I'm sure you know the meetup link. And we also have email address. So give us a follow if you are active in Twitter. We do meet twice a month, second Wednesday. Like today, we meet at the noon Eastern Standard Time. And on the fourth Wednesday, we meet at noon Pacific time to be fair to our friends on the West Coast and Midwest. The slider demo code, there is some issues to have a fixed repository. Paresh is going to share today's slide decks at the end of the session. He's going to attach it to the chat so you can download directly. If you want any previous one, just send us a note and I'll share that with you. This session is being recorded, so if you're not comfortable with your question, answer, or anything, so be mindful. And later on, it will be uploaded in our YouTube channel. And you can see a tiny URL. You can go and get all the previous recordings from this channel, the one that got recorded with the permission of the speakers. These are some of the future sessions that we have scheduled. Some of these are, as you can see, this year we are trying to bring more Microsoft product managers and PMs and engineers. So these are all already set up in Meetup. You can go and sign up, except I have a slot in June 14th, which I'm still working on. These are some of the future events. They're called SQL Saturdays or Data Saturdays. They're pretty much the same thing. These are whole day trainings, free of cost. I'm going to put a shameless plug. I organized the Boston SQL Saturday, which was just announced this Monday, which will be October 14th. There will be a pre-con by Brent Ozer on October 13th. So go and search for Boston SQL Saturday 2023 and you will get all the info. SQL Bits is next week. Some of us are here going there physically, but they are also have a way that you can join virtually. So look it up, just search SQL Bits 2023. This is the largest data platform conference outside of US. There's so far, what I saw last time was 2,200 attendees registered, and there are hundreds of sessions. Pre-cons is starting next Monday or next Tuesday, probably. So look it up. And there is a code that you can use, and you get some money off if you're registering as a user group member. PASS Data Community Summit, which used to call SQL PASS, is already announced for this year. This will be in person in Seattle from November 14th and 17th. You can search for it. You can sign up to get more up-to-date info. And now, if any of you want to speak, you have a suggestion, any feedback, you like something, you do not like it, you want us to do something better, please send me a note or send us a note. There are few of us help with this group, DBA-VUG@outlook.com, and I'll definitely respond to you. And if you're a new speaker, you want to speak, you're more than welcome. We can assign you to a mentor who will help you with abstracts and getting your presentation ready. And now we have the pro speaker, who is Paresh Motiwala. He speaks all over the world. And so I'm going to hand over to him, 20 stupid mistakes we make. So I'm going to stop sharing, stop talking, and let Paresh take over.
Hey guys, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Hope you can see my screen. We have already tested it. So if you can't, then we have some other issues. But
I can see
welcome. Beautiful. Give me one more second. So the most popularly asked questions are, is this session being recorded? Dave already told you that. Where will the slide decks be available? Yes, I will be giving you the slide deck at the end of the meeting. So must be present to win, so to speak. What else? Yes, feel free to make it very interactive. I might ask some seriously embarrassing questions, which is what I'm really known for. And I would love for everybody to participate in that. And it makes my day when somebody actually does that interactively. So this is not a technical session, so don't feel, geez, where did we land up, right? But you will see a lot of technical mistakes we make and a lot of personal mistakes we make while at job. This is essentially catered towards DBAs. So if there is a developer, then please you can modify this slightly to suit your interest, right? So without much ado, what do I do here? So that's me. This is what's going to be talked about today. How do we avoid some of those mistakes? And yes, Q&A all the time. Okay. Please, please, please make it interactive. I was in Atlanta about 10 days back speaking about the same topic, and I had no room to have people sit in the class. Not that they gave me a 5-people room, but just so you know. This is my contact information. Feel free to reach out to me. If you're going to connect to me on LinkedIn, please, please, please make sure that you tell me this is where you saw me, or I will not accept your invitation. Yes, you can stalk me on Twitter at Paresh Motiwala. And I now work for a company called Inshallah. And some people say it sounds like Inshallah, but kind of. And then principals, I'm a principal at circlesofgrowth.com. I actually train and mentor children across the globe in public speaking, debating, and just general life skills. I also run the Boston BI, which I might soon relinquish, the Houston area SQL Server user group, DBA-VUG, the current virtual user group that is here now. So yes, this you might remember when we come to one of the other slides a little later on as to how do we give back to the community that has given us so much back, right? So number one mistake that we make, whether it's DBA or developers or whoever, is not going for automation, right? And it's very crucial that we try to automate as much as possible. Otherwise, what do you call that? Like guinea pig on that Ferris wheel. You keep on doing the same stuff day in and day out. I have had a situation when I was working at the government office. And by the way, sorry, I had to give this as a disclaimer earlier. This is not from some specific books, but there are 2 people whose articles I have referred to here as a not necessarily the source, but for guidance and inspiration. But a lot of what I'm saying comes straight out of my on-field experiences, okay? So feel free to disagree with what I have observed, and if you can agree, that'll be great too. But I was in a government office working, and all this guy had to do was every day he would get a dump and of CSV files that he had to pick up, put it on a CD, burn it, and then send it off to people. I was able to automate it to the point where he just had to click a button, but he chose not to do it because he said that that would take away his job. So remember, if automation is taking away your job, then so be it. Okay? Because if you're doing the same thing over and over and over again, possibly you're not going anywhere. So remember, automation, the key to everything that we do, right? And next one, not choosing the right tools. Actually, in about 6-7 years ago, I had a 75-minute session on choosing the right tools at Boston SQL Saturday when I was in Boston. Now I've moved to Houston. But we are so shy about using tools. For example, if they're DBA, we have a whole DBA tools there. If you just Google for a particular question, and now even if you can go for ChatGPT, you can actually ask questions and they will come up with some suitable queries and so on for you, already predefined. So do not feel shy about using right tools. For example, people still like, okay, no, I'm going to write my own backup scripts and index maintenance script, when all you really need to do is take Ola's script and kind of run it across, and you're done in less than 1 second. So not choosing the right tools is also, if you look at it, kind of piggybacking with not automating stuff properly, right? One of my previous jobs, my boss wanted me to create the whole monitoring suite by having everything that you do via SP who is active and all that into a database, and from there have a constant SSRS report kind of refreshed every 5 minutes and so on, which was just ridiculous. And when I suggested, oh geez, have you tried SQL Sentry? Have you tried SolarWinds? Have you tried Idera? No, they are too canned and we can't customize them, which was the answer. But really 99% of what we do is fairly canned, and the people who wrote these softwares are not stupid, right? They have written it with about talking to a lot of DBAs, right? So please do not feel shy or bad about choosing the right tools. Have you heard the phrase, I now pronounce you DBA and developer, right? That almost never happened before. And DBA means, don't bother asking. We are our own islands in the office. We don't get outside the cube. We rather sulk in our own cube. Don't do that. Reach out across the aisle. I mean, as it happens in political spectrum too, you need to reach out across the aisles. Talk to the developers. Talk to the storage guys. Talk to the network people. Remember, because everything that goes wrong is always the database problem, right? So you want to work very hard by cultivating these relationships. I'll give you a classic example. Despite all the jokes you hear about developers and DBAs not getting well along, I used to have lunch with my developers on a very regular basis, and no kidding. My storage engineers team, I would actually go out for a walk with them when we were working in person, of course, right? And then same thing with my networking guy, because he was on the same train as I was when I was in Boston, so he couldn't actually escape me. But we built a solid infrastructure of relationships. Now, suddenly today I needed 2 terabytes of storage. Guess what? Even before I put in a ticket for all the procedures that we need to follow, all I had to do is just shout across the cube, hey, buddy, can I have 2 terabytes on this particular server? And I will return it back to you in 3 days, but you better do return it in 3 days, okay? Otherwise, you'll lose some really good friends. So working with others, what one group of people am I missing here? Can anybody care to suggest or give me as a response here? Okay, nobody, but I will tell you, work with your customers, know your customers, right? Because they are the people who essentially write your check. So yeah, in networking infrastructure, John, Carmen, thank you. Yeah, networking team, yes, Julie, I see that as well. Users, yes, Michael, thank you. That's exactly what I was saying. Work with your users. I cannot tell you how many times it is. I have actually a 75-minute presentation on networking and how you can actually work with your users. Okay, so if you are ever in the mood, just Google it. It's there somewhere. It's called Network or Paresh, and you will see part of it is dedicated to working with users. Sorry. Some really stupid things we do because we come from SQL 6.5 mindset and we still like to shrink our databases. Don't do that. If your company is running out of storage, chances are you want to run out of that company. A lot of people don't like to hear this, but I'm telling you now, if storage is a problem in your company, then the company is the problem. So watch out, right? Don't do anything eternally stupid like bulk imports during business hours, for example, right? That is an absolute killer. And not once, twice, but at least 15 or 20 times in my career, I have seen this happening. Okay. And like, I'll give you a classic example. My previous job, one of my internal users ran a report, which is supposed to be run only at 5 o'clock in the morning, but he started it at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Guess what? There's blockages and all the good stuff. Mind you, I didn't write the report. I don't care about what the report said, but they wanted to run the report. Now that report was running, he says, maybe if I try it in another window, right, it might work better for me. So as it turned out, he started 3 windows. There was like a slurry of blockages and head blockers and so on, which is pretty much similar to bulk imports, right? So how can you overcome these kind of the people who run reports during, have them point to a read-only copy of the database. If you're an always on, then the read intent should be declared in your SSRS, so it'll automatically go to the node that is not active, right? Then memory management. How many of us have really messed with memory management? A lot of us have, right? Because one of my customers had actually put in, that big number that they have, that 8 or 9 digit number, 214378, something like that. They kept it that way, and they were also running application on the same server as the Air Force One of a database server, right? And they found out that we need more memory. Okay, we give more memory. until they brought the DBA, because everybody thinks they are a DBA. So eventually when they brought us on, the first thing I said is, why is this memory configuration like this? So please manage your memory configurations well. There is another thing called as memory ballooning. If you are aware, if you are using a VM, you might really want to be good friends with your infrastructure guy, and he will actually make sure that memory ballooning doesn't really screw up your VM because of a noisy neighbor, okay? So again, memory management, but also work with your infrastructure guy who gave you the server. Because remember, for most parts, you will not be building the SQL Server yourself. It'll be somebody else who just hands you a VM or a box, say, yeah, go have fun with this box, right? Then this guy, I totally love him, right? I don't always test my code, but when I do, I only test it in production, right? How many of us have done that, right? Think first, seriously, if you have to do this in production, do it offline or after office hours when the rush is not so bad. Make sure that you have taken either a snapshot of the database or the entire VM, or the latest transaction log backup is there before you really start messing around. 4 times in my life, I've had to restore a production database, okay? Because these guys did not think through the thing, and the organization did not have a lower region where they could actually test it. So guess whose problem it is? It is your problem. And this usually happens on a Friday evening at 4:59 p.m. So guess what? No more dates for you that night, right? You're going to be stuck restoring databases. One more thing, I didn't think of this earlier, but in choosing right tools, right? Along with Ola, there's a lot of other tools available like Rubrik and Cohesity and Actifio and Delphix. These are the ones that actually help you back up and restore your databases in less than 5 minutes. So even if it is an 8 terabyte database, you can restore it in 5 minutes. You can back it up in 5 minutes, right? So something like that, a tool can really help you well. But how do you know about these tools, correct? So the way you know about these tools is by attending events like this, where people will talk about different tools that they used. And when you are in a conference like SQL Saturday or PASS conference, make sure that you are not just crazily running from one technical session to another technical session to another technical session, because your brain can only digest so much, okay? More importantly, you want to spend time, quality time with these vendors. Yes, because they are the sponsors, but something they say or a service or a product that they have can change the life of you, right? And for example, yes, if somebody calls you for a backup at 4:59 p.m., yeah, say, give me 2 minutes, I'll take care of it, yeah? And yeah, this copy data virtualization, go ahead, actually I have a 75-minute presentation on that as well, but you should be able to go ahead and restore these databases because you use the right tools. Okay, so don't get stuck in status quo, correct? A stitch in time saves 9, correct? How many times have we heard that, correct? So most important thing that I would like to say is here, recovery and back preventive maintenance, for example. I have a 75-minute presentation. I'm sorry I keep on marketing my own sessions, but that's not the idea. You can actually have your preventive maintenance in such a way that you can save almost 80% of your time for the preventive maintenance. That includes backup, that includes reindexing, that includes integrity checks, right? And that also includes copying the database from here and giving it to the lower regions, all comes as a part of the preventive maintenance. The other preventive maintenance could be patching and keeping your SQL servers update, right? So definitely make sure you can actually plan your preventive maintenance in such a way that you have more time for business and your database is always intact. For example, how many of us run database integrity checks on a weekly basis? Just, or anybody wants to make it interactive here, please? Daily? Okay, I am so proud of you, my friends. So can I break the myth for you guys? Don't do that. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that take it as a fatalistic way, but running your preventive maintenance like database integrity checks, you can always do it now, given that SQL Server is a stable product, given that Windows 19, I shouldn't say this, is a stable product, right? So you can actually do this maybe once a week. And what you can do is don't do it against live production database. Take a copy of the database, restore it to a local region where they might use it for development or QA or whatever other purpose. Run the DBCC check on that database. There is 1 in a 10,000 chance that you might actually find a problem. In that case, you can find the problem, script out how to fix it, then go and apply it in production. But don't habitually run DBCC against your live production database. It doesn't look very good for yourself, okay? Backups, I mean, I've already spoken a lot about backups, right? Tools to use backups, Ola, DBA tools, everything you have at your disposal, do that. How many of us, like I was guilty of doing statistics update immediately following reindexing of the database. Now, after I attended some of the sessions on performance tuning and the fact that we are on like some super fast storage, in the previous job that I was in Worldline, which we were 24/7, 365 days a year, and we never had even 5 minutes of downtime in a year. We never once ran reindexing job in 2 years. 2 years, we never reindexed the database. The only thing we really did well was keep on updating statistics. And if you don't know what that is, just check out, there is 1-hour session by Grant Ritchie exclusively on statistics. And there's a lot of write-ups about this from Pinal Dave and Brent, of course, you know, he's fabulous. So having said that, let's go to the next one.
Paresh,
Right?
there's a question about, I don't know if you want to take this because this is licensing
sure.
related.
Mm-hmm.
So it's from Alex Marler. Is there a licensing violation running CheckDB on a dev instance? Question mark. Thought you'd need at least software assurance.
I don't believe so. I'm not a licensing expert, but I would definitely say talk to Microsoft about this, but no, it is not true. And in the development instance, it is not that you are actually using a developer edition. You are only using the same version that you have in production. Only you're not using it for production. So yes, it is your duty. How do you check a script, right? If you're not going to do that, correct? So I would say no, but please don't take my word for it, because my friend George Walters, who is from Microsoft, he's not here today, but he would say, yeah, Microsoft needs your money. So go ahead and do it against this. Check with your TAM or technical account manager and see if it is okay. I have yet to come across this situation, and I have been doing this only 25 years. So trust me on that. Okay, cool. Then recovery and backups. Jackie Chan, you have to love him, right? So you're telling me we have backups we can't restore? So this is what happened when I was working in a healthcare company about 3 years ago. They were moving their entire database from on-prem into AWS, okay? And when I actually saw the configuration of the machine, I screamed at my manager. I said, what the hell are you guys doing? You have your backup, your MDF, and your LDF on the same drives? Has it ever occurred to you that this is a 5-year-old server, and if 2 or 3 of those drives go bad at the same time, you are going to be host, right? And they said, no, we are only here for 6 more months. And they never once ran the MTBF algorithm that HP and other hardware vendors actually provide you, which would tell you that, okay, this drive is expected to fail within next 30 days. And yes, it is possible. You can do that, right? So as it turned out, exactly 3 of those drives went bad out of RAID 5. They could never recover. The business was down for 36 days because they had to regenerate the entire data warehouse from old files, which nobody knew where they were, and they were all coming from MongoDB, Teo is a MongoDB guy, and has complex ways in which it was going into SQL. Eventually, after we were laid off with the COVID-related layoffs, they were able to get it back online after 45 days. So have your backups in a different location. Keep on checking your backups every single week. Do not take them for granted. It is just like saying that you have your backups, your passport and everything, and your backup copies of your passport all in the same storage where you are living. So that's not a great idea. Have it offsite as well, right? So recovery and backups, without proper recovery testing, there is no backup. Just assume that that backup doesn't exist. And that is one of the reasons why you should always do this backup and restore to another instance where you run multiple things. That actually helps you two things, right? Yes, the database backup was awesome. It worked. Sometimes you may also want to go ahead and apply additional transaction logs just to see the transaction logs are okay, correct? And then run the integrity checks. So that'll really help you a lot. If you are blessed with space, then see if you can actually habitually keep on restoring databases as an off chance that some developer already messed it up. And if you do not have copy data virtualization or SAN snapshot based replication, then you should be able to move on quickly and say, oh yeah, I already have a database that I restored for you because I was expecting that you guys are going to screw up somewhere, right? So there's often a question that your infrastructure guy will ask you, or the storage guy, right? Speed versus capacity. What do you choose? Interactive. Ta-da. Okay, not much, right? So here's what I would say. Both, right? Yeah, I know. That's true, Brian and Samantha and Thomas. The most popular answer that a DBA can give is depends, right? Because that basically means that I have no clue what I'm talking about. But, this is what I think. Yes, you need both actually. But your storage guy will give you an option. Hey, Paresh, you need RAID 5 or RAID 10? Because if you ask RAID 5, I can give you more capacity. But guess what? Your drives will be that much slower because they are like just one big chunk of RAID 5, right? Whereas in RAID 10, you have striped disk and then mirrored striped disk, right? So you have redundancy very well built. But RAID 10 means you are spending double the amount on storage. So remember, I would say, no, I'm sorry, this is not negotiable in production. So please do not ask me this question again. Take him out for a beer or alcohol or coffee or whatever, right? Make him an offer he can't refuse. I'm keeping on saying he because I've yet to come across a storage engineer that is not a he, but just in case. Remember, storage and capacity, speed and capacity is very important for our survival, okay? This one. 90% of us DBAs would love to jump into a SQL Server and start making recommendations based on whatever is your prejudice or your pre-informed suite of thought processes, right? But if you do not know your business and if you do not know your data, what is called as an RRE. I'll write it here if you know what it is. It will really help you. Just remember this, if nothing else. I just typed it in the chat room. If anybody knows what RRE is, you made your life. I can promise you that. So not knowing your business and keeping on doing work that is really not having a big picture in mind that is what will bring you down big time. Know your data. If you have an ERD software, then go ahead and run it. I think Microsoft discontinued that database diagram thing long time back, but if you can go ahead and map your data. What I have also found helpful is by running select star from information schema, dot table name, dot column name, and so on, and taking all of that, dumping it into a management warehouse or a DBA warehouse, and DBA data warehouse, sorry. And then running regular, yes, class, perfect, my friend. You are awesome. So it is RRE means resume regenerating event. Okay, so you don't want to be in a place where you have to keep on writing your resume every time there is a problem. Okay, because you chose to not tailor your requirements for business. You thought business will move around your solution. Okay, so remember, problem and your solution is supposed to solve a problem, not have a solution that is solving a problem that doesn't exist. Okay, so remember, know your data very well. It will really save your life. No kidding at all. Okay. Pride in hacking away. You know, like how many times have you done? Yeah, Arvind. I mean, I'm telling you, I used to use Arvind for the longest time when I was for HP and EDS, but a lot of companies really can't afford this. So you have to do with whatever you can. Okay. But let's get back to this, right? Item number 10, that is pride in hacking away. We just love making things work, right? How many of us are guilty of doing this? Now, what happens is that 3 days later, the same problem happens. And guess what has happened? We did not document what we did the first time to fix the same problem, right? Unless you have a well-defined Confluence or a Jira ticket or some ticketing system where you log down step by step what was done to fix a problem like this, you are in for a big problem. Okay, so hacking away is good. The fundamental rule is do not go away from a working state by more than one step. So if you tried something and it did not work, don't keep that thing there and then add one more thing and then 3 things and 5 things. Suddenly you will not know which one really worked or a combination of what worked. So be very careful in your hacking mentality and your methodology. Document everything. You know what you can do is just open up OneNote on the side and start writing small notes that, okay, you did this, this one worked. Now, which of the 3 things that I did in the past, if I can disable, I would still be able to make this work. That is the way to do it. So yes, I absolutely pride myself in hacking away, but I have been guilty of not documenting what the hell I hacked. Okay, so be sure. So there's a lot of people saying, yay, I did that too. Cool. So defaults, how many of us take defaults except of course for CTOP, which is like 5 and max top, right? These are the 2 things we'll take for default and the memory settings. So defaults, other than these 3, do not fix things that are not broken, correct? So max top equal to 1, and then hell breaks loose. Everything is serialized so bad that, you know, like you have long wait times for everything. That's not pretty at all. So remember, fix things that are broken. Don't try to just push a solution because that's what worked for a specific set of problems at a specific set of hardware in your previous job. Okay? Correct? Everybody with me so far? Any questions, comments, observations, bouquets, brickbats? Cool. SA password on the monitor, right? I mean, security. Come on, guys. Who doesn't do this? I have done this. Actually, I had 8 sticky notes on my 2 awesome monitors that I had. Okay. And I used to pride myself in doing it because who is actually going to do this? And I was then called into the CISO's office one day and given the piece of her mind. I knew it was her. And she really gave me the piece, Paresh, if this ever happens again, I will have to fire you. And since then, we started working on stuff like password safe or some sort of a locking system where you have to log in with your AD account to unlock that password. And the moment you unlock that password, it is logged against your name. Okay, so be very careful with security. I can tell you a fun episode here. When I was working for HP at the government center in Boston, I was the new DBA, and guess what? Every person on the floor had the SA password, but they were told not to give it to Paresh because he's a new DBA. So after my 90 days are over, what did I do? The first thing I did after talking to my boss, who in turn talked to our boss in the customer account, is yes, Paresh, go ahead and change the SA password. I don't want people to be hacking at this at all. And a lot of things went bad, very quick, because most of the people who work in the government offices are either the Secretary of the State's nephew or daughter-in-law of the governor, and so on and so forth, right? Yep. So remember that security, paramount importance to you. If you have not done anything like GDPR training, please do. Just a show of hands, where is security better, in USA or in Europe? People are searching for no, actually, Europe has 10 times more powerful rules and more enforceable rules than in USA. I promise you that, okay? And there are a lot of things that will work here, will not work in Europe, because I go there often to speak at different events. And I'm telling you, it can be sometimes very painful that a lot of things don't work there because you have to go through the security checks. I have actually a 1-hour talk on big data and how security plays a very important role, and how big data is better analyzed in Europe, and it is safer in Europe, your own data, than in USA. Trust me on that, okay? Correct. So you're right. So GDPR, but fundamentals, you can take them here as well, right? Microsoft actually conducted a 1-day training for this, and that was really awesome. It was a great eye opener for me. Not following processes, right? Come on, you want to go ahead and put something in production, let's find a fix and do it. I have done it at least 10 times. And as they say, a man never makes the same mistake twice, right? It's usually 3 times or more. And that's exactly what has happened with me also. But then sometimes you have to do it, you have to do it, right? So, but make sure that we call it as a expedited change or something like that, which means that this was done. And now we are putting in a change request just to normalize the routine so that it is recorded what we did, like building an index because we found out something was screwed up and the query was running for 60 minutes, right? And the vice president wanted the report. Guess what? Right, running the right sort of indexing. It was not pretty, but yes, I had to do it. But follow the process, right? Put in change management request. That way your CYA is what it is called, right? CYA, cover your bases before you run any change. It is documented, multiple heads have signed off on it, so you will not fall alone. That's all I'm saying. So follow the process. If the company has its own process, follow that process. Otherwise, suggest that this is what I would like us to do. For example, today in my job, somebody wanted a copy of the production database so that they can run queries against that. And I said, okay, why do you need a copy? Why do you need a proliferation of the data on multiple servers, right? Why can't you just run carefully crafted queries against production database? And they said, yeah, Paresh, we never actually challenged our vendor for that. So again, I did not stop them from doing it, but I posed them questions, which they are now taking back to the vendor, and they will get back to me on that, correct? Ignoring professional development. Today you are here during your busy times. That is a very good sign that you are interested in professional development. Attend sessions like these. I am not kidding you. If you have a local user group, go there. Okay, multiple things. You build a very solid network for yourself, right? That is very crucial. 2, you learn something new, right? And 3, you will understand how people manage their workloads as against you, because we as DBAs always like to portray ourselves as like buried under a ton of mountains, right? Which is not true almost always. Okay, I can tell you, if you are consistently buried under a mountain because of workload, you are not doing something right. Okay, so maybe you're not using the right tools. Maybe you never spoke to your boss that, geez, this is enough for me. I don't want to put in 8 or 9 hours a day. But professional development is absolutely critical. In your organization, go ahead and give what I call as a reach out lectures, in the sense, what is SQL Server? What do DBAs do? Go ahead and give out that kind of sessions to everyone so that people know that you're not the guy who just guzzles 20 tons of coffee a day and just sits there and downloads movies, right? I'm telling you, this is all experienced by me, and I would tell you, do not get away from professional development, because it's easy for a company to lay off or fire a 20-year-old veteran because he never developed himself or his processes ever, right? So this company that I was talking to you about, where we had the data warehouse server crash, some of those stored procedures were written in 2002 and never once rewritten or updated. So, like, they had those massive cursors, what could have been easily replaced with a windowing function in a 4-line code. They still have like a 700-line code there going through the same exact thing. But these vendors are still doing business, right? Absolutely. This is the next slide. I hope I can drive this home to you. Do not ignore self, okay? Because remember, please pardon my saying this, but most of the DBAs, including me, are obese or morbidly obese, because we think that if you don't work more than 12 hours a day, your company will shut down. No, that's not happening. Please devote time to yourself. Guess who will be with you till the very end? Your body and your mind, right? Do not think any less of them. Go do meditation, 15, 20-minute meditation sessions in the middle of the day after your lunch or something like that. Cool down, enjoy some funny literatures. In case you didn't notice, the stack is full of mad comics, okay? So I live by that. I run meditation sessions in my companies. People do that. I go out for long walks, 4 to 5 miles, almost every other day. Houston is pretty good for walks like that. So do not ignore yourself. I cannot tell you this enough number of times. Your company can hire another Paresh Motiwala, but your family cannot find another Paresh Motiwala, okay? So, or whoever you are. So please take this very seriously. Do not ignore yourself. Your mental well-being, your physical well-being is very crucial for you to work smart and not just hard, okay? I hope everybody agrees with me on that. I see 2 or 3 people giving me a heart on that one. Yeah, thank you. Not giving back to the community. Here's the thing. I don't know if Teo will remember this. Teo, about 8 years ago, Grant Ritchie was the keynote speaker at our SQL Saturday, and he invited people to come and talk about whatever they knew. And there's one woman who woke up in the middle of the session, or the keynote session, and so she says, "Why should we speak?" Right? So Grant said, "This is your way of giving back to the community." She says, "I don't know what to speak about." Right? So what did Grant say? Grant said, "Speak about that topic. Why you don't want to speak, and why you don't have anything to speak about." And later on, she became a regular speaker, just so you know. So give back to the community. If you know little, share it, right? Speak at events like this, follow MS SQL tips. There are ways you can blog about your special small thing that you might have solved, right? Which can actually change life of others. Give back to the community. This is just the SQL community, right? Follow the SQL help and the SQL family hashtag on Twitter, because if you're not on Twitter, you are really missing a lot. Okay, so please be on Twitter, follow the community. Now wait, that is only the database community. What about the community you come from? You could be Mexican, you could be Indian, you could be Filipino, you could be Pakistani, you could be Canadian, you could be French, right? You could be Italiano, right? Why give back to the community? If you look at it, the people who thrive in communities are never unemployed for a long time. Please record this conversation forever in your brains. Give back to your church. Go to your church, your temple, your mosque, whatever is your place of religion. Volunteer there, right? There is your children are in your baseball team, your softball team or soccer team. Volunteer there. You know what is the chance that one of the guys sitting or the woman sitting next to you could be a CIO of some big organization, right? That will really, really, really help you level the field. These are the people you cannot even imagine being in the same building with, but now they are sitting right next to you. And that's a great icebreaker. So giving back to the community, both the professional and personal, is perfect way to do this. Okay. One more thing, item number 17. How are we doing on time? We have 14 minutes. Cool. Do you need a shrink? Teo, do you remember who spoke about mental fitness and mental wellness? Tracy Boggiano, right? Tracy Boggiano. She has a superb session on giving importance to your mental fitness and your overall psychological well-being while you're working. And if you need a shrink, there is no taboo associated with that. Okay? If you need somebody who can help you look into your ways of working, the way you think, whatever you are doing, please do visit. I'll tell you, I'd rather see a shrink rather than end up in a loony bin. Okay? So please give yourself a lot of credit for taking the first step to see if you need to talk to a shrink. And most of the companies, their health plans let you talk to them for 5 or 6 sessions for whatever regular price it is. But again, my children are not shrinks. I'm not trying to market a service, but all I'm saying is, please, if you can actually look up Tracy Boggiano, I'll see if I can. Tracy. Yeah, that is true, Tom, right? So Tracy Boggiano, I think that is what you might want to, go ahead and check it out. Her sessions are really, really, really powerful. Actually, in my previous job, we asked her to make a paid presentation to our staff, right? And we are a company of 20,000 people last job. So if you need a shrink, do not hesitate to go there, okay? Staying stuck with status quo, right? You come at 9, you go at 5, right? You're doing the same thing. Somewhere in between, you have a 4-hour lunch break and a 2-hour coffee break, right? All you're doing is the same thing. Remember, kind of overlap of what we spoke about earlier. Always try to evolve. Always try to increase your professional value. Okay? If your boss says, Paresh, we need this server because the old server we had 16 cores. Now I need the new server. We are going to have 16 cores. And you can be very nice to your boss without having to rewrite your resume. He says, really, have you considered, don't say you're wrong. Say, have you considered going with less number of cores because the new cores are more powerful, right? Because more cores also cost more money, right? And he will actually possibly worship you because you were able to save him a lot of thousands of dollars and make him look good. So do not stay with status quo. Just don't turn around the request that you received because you received it and you had no other better thing to do. Keep on evolving yourself. How else will you keep on professionally evolving? How many of you have heard of learn.microsoft.com, for example, right? Or Pluralsight and so many other courses. So keep on learning things. For example, there is a lot of sessions now available on ChatGPT. Okay, the 1-hour videos, 30 minutes videos, and podcasts and so on. Please go and keep on listening. Instead of just watching a movie aimlessly with 25 beers in your hand is not really going to help you evolve professionally. So please, please, please don't stay stuck in one place, right? See, as Theo points out, that SQL bits and a lot of SQL Pass sessions are online and they're free. the thing that I have noticed, and Teo, you might agree with me, is that people like to take all the PowerPoint, the code that you give them, right? But they will not ever, ever look at those presentations again. That is why I want you to live in the moment. Don't depend too much on this presentation, right? Yeah, exactly. So we do not have a time, right? So remember, there was I think, who was that? Who's SQL runner? What is her first name? SQL girl. She
You mean
joined Microsoft.
Jess?
Yeah, Jess Borland, right? Yeah. So remember, she has a super presentation called busy is a 4-letter word, right? We do not have time. It means you did not manage your time. Yes, sometimes what you're saying is you do not have time for a specific thing. I have actually a 60-minute session on time management, which leads to less stress for you. That session was cut down to 20 minutes, and I had no written words in my PowerPoint sessions. It was all cartoons. Okay. So remember, don't stay stuck with status quo. Cool. How many of you have gone to the DTA, right? And gone on to put in all the indexes that you can possibly do on a database without even checking if there is a similar index that exists, right? Be very careful when listening to SQL DTA. I cannot tell you, Erin's blog is there, Erin's sessions are there, SQL Espresso's sessions are there, Brent is there, Pinal Dave is there, my friend, and then of course Grant is always there. So these people they have spent their lives making SQL Server go faster. In fact, Brent's tagline is I make SQL servers go faster. So just don't keep on making indexes for the heck of it. And question for you, okay? Dave, this you can feel free to answer that. A bad query can and should always be rewritten or can be improved. Who said that?
I don't know. I mean, that's a generic statement, but yeah.
No, it was by the guy who wrote SP, who is active, right? Adam McCormick. And he used to say always, hey, a bad query is always worth tuning, right? So definitely, yep. He's awesome. He's a good friend of us. He used to run that Boston SQL group before, the New England SQL Server use a group long time back, and then it came to Mike Hilvig. Now Teo and Vlad are running with it. I help whenever I can. If not, no problem. So definitely do not listen to DTA directly. This is one of the things that I used to pride myself when I was about 10 years ago. Oh, let me run DTA against this. Oh my God, it has 7 missing indexes and 20 missing statistics. Let me go ahead and create this. So what happened was that I was actually tuning the SQL Server for a query, not for the overall good performance. And that is a fundamental mistake that a lot of us DBAs make. So please be watchful of that, okay? Do not just blindly follow DTA instructions. So lack of succession planning. What the heck am I talking about here? Anybody know? You find that there is an awesome job opportunity within your own company where you can actually go from here to there, right? What happens is you can't do it because you never documented your processes. You never documented what the hell you do, right? There's no procedure. You kept everything to yourself. You never shared your knowledge. You never planned for succession. So what happens is that when you want to move within the organization, you can't for these reasons. So please always document what you are doing. If you lose your job because you documented your step, then possibly that job is not worth it, right? That's a good one, Tom. I really like it. Leave the place better than you found it. That is so true. So document everything. There also, I'll tell you, if this comes from your company, your CIO or your HR, and they say, you know what, we need to start documenting. The partners were asking, the managing director was asking for documentation. 100% of the time, your company is either being bought over or it is going under. Okay. or it's being merged. So remember, there is no shame in succession planning. You are not necessarily going to save your job, but if you have your succession plan, there is a chance that you will end up with a better job within the same organization. Okay, so run books, as I say, right, keeps things consistent in a large team. And also remember, your memory is different at 2 o'clock in the morning because you have had no coffee. You are cranky, which is true with almost all the DBAs all the time. But at that time, you can forget a step, and then you will not do very well. It's an RRE, resume regenerating event, right? Absolutely just worry about documenting your stuff, document the heck out of it. I have to say this, one more thing, there's a session that I did about how to basically migrate from one version of SQL or one box of SQL to another box or another version. I have a 75-minute session on that. And in fact, Microsoft, remember Teo, the data migration tour that they had, which we did one-day session?
Yes.
Right? So document your food chain, okay? If you can't take anything away other than RRE, your brains is the food chain documentation, right? Document everything that goes into your database, document everything that goes out of your database. You can do that by running Adams SP who is active. That is on Brent's website. You will see scripts that will help you create a table that will collect SP who is active data, and you will dump into a table and then write fancy report against that table, and you will live happily ever after. So I would like to share the bibliography, right? Kevin Klein wrote this one, the second one. This is really awesome. Please feel free to look at these. You'll really like them. Really awesome people. So I think Kevin wrote about 10. I added 10 of my own. I know that there are at least 30 other more stupid things that we do, but I chose to kind of put them into this kind of a setup. Okay. And cloudemployee.co.uk, it's a London-based company that had 10 SQL Server mistakes the DBAs make and should avoid, right? Read it up and then compare to what I did. There are 10 other things that I put in there myself, which are based on pure experience. This is not just textbook knowledge. But with that, I would say thank you. And this is my contact information again. Feel free to tweet about it. If you liked it, go ahead and say, thank you, DBA-VUG. This is really awesome. And if you like to listen to more and different types of topics from the group, because I'm also a volunteer for the group, this is a good time. For those who would like to sign off, this may not be a bad time. And those who want to hang around, feel free to do that. I really look forward to answering any questions or having a one-on-one or just as a group chat now. So thank you guys, really appreciate that. And Tib, you can stop the recording now.
Sure. So just for everyone, so Paresh is gracious enough. We still have 2 minutes and he can stay a little bit later if you have questions. So I'm not going to stop the meeting and just stop the recording right now. But please